Good morning. I want to pick up in chapter 11 with another type of natural selection. In this regard, it has to do with selection of features, non-sexual features, often determined by either a male-to-male competition or by female choice. And this type of selection is called sexual selection. It was introduced by Darwin as well. And again, there's use of the word selection. Natural selection can involve a change in a population. If you think of a normally distributed population, you can think of it changing in a manner that may be directional, it might be stabilizing, or it may be disruptive. And populations tend to change over time as they are influenced by natural selection, as the environment changes. We talked of how humans can artificially select animals and plants from the wild, selectively breed them for different products, if you will, food, leather, eggs, dairy, plants for food, fiber, clothing, etc. And we refer to this as artificial selection, a process of speeding up the evolution, the change in the genetics of populations to suit human need, if you will. We talked of kin selection in chapter 12, where altruistic behaviors can be passed on if they increase fitness in the individual who is altruistic or self-sacrificing. So we want to talk about sexual selection in this particular topic of chapter 12. So, sexual selection involves some means by which a female selects a male mate. Either the males directly compete, as in the two male elephant seals, in the elephant sea lions, I guess they're called, in the top left. The winner often gains breeding rights to a whole group of females and often results in a mating system called polygyny, one male mating with multiple females. The second type of female choice is a direct choice by the female, and the males don't directly compete with one another. The female chooses the male partner based upon some sensory mechanism that she has. Maybe it's his bright colors, his song, his long tail, some non-sexual characteristic. So sexual selection is not necessarily selection based upon the size, the shape, and so forth of the sexual structures. It is selection of a male mating partner based upon some non-sexual characteristic that he has. Though it does not always develop, often sexual selection can lead to phenotypic differences between the male and female, and we refer to these as being sexual dimorphisms. You see a stag beetle on the left. The male is above and the female below, with the male's ornamented head. And you see on the left a female on the right photo, you see on the left a female ringneck pheasant and a male that's much more brightly colored with a much longer tail on the right. So often, when sexual dimorphism does appear, the male is often bigger than the female, but not always, of course. The male often has ornamentation on his head, or even the genitalia may be in some fashion. The males are often more brightly colored, and the male will often be involved with doing most of the courtship behavior to try to attract the attention and be selected by the female. So you see on the right a male brightly colored mallard duck and the female above, and on the left you see a male painted bunting really brilliant colors, and a female on the right that's kind of an olive green color. Okay. This particular slide is just to say that in spiders, the female is often larger, often will mate with the male and then consume him to use his nutrition to help her in laying eggs. So you see a black widow female on the right with the black shiny body, and a much smaller male black widow on the left. So there are two types of sexual selection that we're going to mention in this first video of two. We're going to call them, and they're called intra, I-N-T-R-A, sexual selection. That's where you have direct male-to-male competition. And secondly, we have intersexual selection, I-N-T-E-R, where the female directly chooses her male mate. The guppy on the left utilizes the brightly colored and large tail and uses that to be selected by the female. That's intersexual selection. And the two kangaroos on the right photograph are competing. They're having a little fighting-like competition. And the winner, if you will, may be awarded with a harem of females to mate with. Intrasexual selection. Intrasexual selection is often when males with elaborate ornamentation on their head will compete with one another. The winner from perhaps a number of competitions will typically be awarded the breeding opportunities with a number of females, leading to this mating system that's called polygyny. One male mating with a number of females during the breeding time. It is thought, again, thought, it isn't proven, but the thought is that the strongest male has the best genes. And we often call this the good genes hypothesis. Females typically are more choosy, and they want to choose a male mate that they feel has the best genes. Males are oftentimes thought of as looking more at fitness than genes, that males are looking at more toward how many female partners can they mate with. Females are looking more at the quality of the male partner and the good genes that he may possess. So, as they often say, females and males often have different preferences. And this is often thought of in the non-human world as well. Excuse me there for moving on too much. In some manner, if you have male-to-male competitions, you may think, well, what happens if one male gets injured? What happens if one male dies while fighting with another? That completely decreases his chance at having offspring. So, in certain groups of animals where there are male-to-male competitions, to try to reduce the competition and infighting, such things as dominance hierarchies will occur, where you have alpha male and alpha females that form the mating partnership, and you have subordinate females who do not reproduce. In birds that are social, such as fowl, F-O-W-L, chickens, turkeys, and so forth, there often might be a pecking order where you have dominant male rooster and dominant female who kind of control the society of males and females within a group of, say, chickens. So, and you might consider this as well. Oftentimes when males compete, they will not compete to such an extent where one individual may die. They may just do more of a show. They may push one another and not fight to the death, if you will. Though you can certainly think of exceptions to that. In some instances, sexual ornamentation can be used to resolve a conflict. As you might see in a colony of baboons. So in the lower right. In the upper right, you have a colony of wolves, just showing that they have a dominance hierarchy in their breeding system. The second type of sexual selection is where the female chooses the best male as her mate. And we refer to this as I-N-T-E-R, sexual selection. There often is some non-sexual characteristic in the male that is chosen by the female based upon some intrinsic genetic preference that she has. Maybe it's a long tail, maybe it's a bright color, maybe it's an elaborate song, or maybe it's an elaborate mating behavior, maybe it's a great territory. There's a variety of things that are intrinsic with the female sensory systems, and males will often try to exaggerate their own characteristics to be selected by the female. So there's a number of hypotheses that we're going to talk about under intersexual selection or female choice. It's a very well studied area. There's no real consensus as to what really is involved in female choice, but it's a very interesting, to me anyway, it's a very interesting topic, and it's going to be the main thrust of the second video here under sexual selection. So we have intra-sexual selection, male to male competition, with the winner often having a harem of females to mate with, called polygyny. Intersexual selection is often a monogamous type situation where one male and one female will mate with each other and help raise the young during maybe one breeding event or maybe even for life. So different types of mating systems develop or evolve based upon the manner in which females choose their male mates. So I'm going to close out here. I'll talk to you again soon. God bless y'all and take care. Goodbye.